Coming up,
I was contemplating, how do I stay alive? I didn't know I would be alive, to be honest with you. When you look at the sexual abuse stuff that I have gone through, and you look at everything, you realize that, all of these things are there to teach you a lesson.
hey everyone, so I'm here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, Kingston's preferred choice, and this week on the Trailblazers, we have Jamaica's podcast queen Heneka Watkis-Porter. Heneka is no doubt a trailblazer in this sphere and has been way ahead of her time, successfully having a global podcast even before it was something that was popular here on the island. Stay tuned to hear her inspiring story of overcoming sexual abuse, surviving even a near-death experience, and of course, her top rules for success in having power in your podcast. And tune in to also find out who was the lucky winner of last week's $30,000 valued giveaway from DG's Health and Wellness Center.
Special thanks to our partners, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, Kingston's preferred choice. Stars Publicity for all your public relations and publicity needs. Get noticed and align with the stars. DG's Health and Wellness Center, operated by certified nutritionist and health columnist Donovan Grant. Contact them today for all your weight loss and other nutritional needs. And Care is Beauty for all your skincare goals and more. Get 5% off each purchase from them using the discount code Tamara5OFF. Learn more details on all these partners as well as links to their website by visiting the description box on the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle YouTube channel.
What's your word to them?
I would say to fight. Fight for your dreams, fight for your purpose.
Life that inspires you, that motive that you aspire to be.
I'm meaningful and critical. It's not a waste time movement, yeah, man.
In my humble opinion, is become very comfortable with yourself.
Very important. You know, the saying in Jamaica, one hand can't clap.
You forgive yourself for allowing people to mistreat you.
Disciplines that we need to embody.
You just have to work at it and be committed. Everyone.
And it's scary to have all of that fall away from you. And you have to celebrate those wins. Work with fitness clients.
For guidance, rely on Christ for support.
And no rush. I did it. I made my move into entrepreneurship at 40.
So chicken, so scared that when...
What, last comments would you want to share with
you? Have your core values, you do the right things, it'll fall in place for you.
It is a pleasure to have you on the Trailblazers, looking fabulous in the Jamaican color braids. I love it. The Rasta.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. Actually, yes, they're the Rasta colors, but more so the Ghanaian colors. Yeah, I have a love. Recently, I've been so in love with Ghana. So yeah, I'm repping Ghana right now.
That's awesome. Well, Ghana and Jamaica has like a close relationship, so I can understand.
Absolutely, and we're so similar in so many ways. Yeah.
That is awesome. So it's a pleasure to have you on the program. I mean, for my viewers, I know Heneka, but I know her as in so many different capacities. She is a phenomenal podcaster. She's like the queen podcaster in Jamaica, an author, a serial entrepreneur, and so much more. And we are ready to just divulge a bit into your story. So Heneka, I mean, you have been way ahead of your time. When podcast of late has become more popular in Jamaica, this was something that you were doing long before, right? So I want to jump straight into that and tell us, how is it that, or why you decided to embark on that journey when you did some years ago?
Wow. I like that question because it's my happy place talking about podcasting, right? So in 2014, I started a radio show. It was on Power 106. It was called The Entrepreneurial You. And it was profitable. I had a few listeners here and there, and I had sponsors on board and all of that jazz. But then 3 seasons in, it was like 13 episodes per year that would make a season. And so 3 seasons in, by 2016, I decided, you know what, I wanted to grow this thing because I realized the potential that it had. Because first and foremost, I even, the whole trademark thing and everything when I started as radio. And having a conversation with a friend of mine, an amazing person, Ingrid Riley, we're talking about all things tech and stuff. And you know, she was saying, why not go online with it? Because, you know, that's where things are. When persons recognize that your growth is online, then they're more inclined to support you in a traditional way. So I contemplated about, you know, on it. And then somebody else also from that same event that we met and everything, started sharing with me about podcasts, and I was sharing it with Ingrid, and she was like, okay, these are the podcasts that I listen to. And she shared 3 major podcasts, right? Business podcasts. One is Mixergy by Andrew Warmer, I think. And then there is Entrepreneurs on Fire with John Lee Dumas. And to be honest with you, I can't remember the third one. And I got so excited and I fell in love head over heels with what John Lee Dumas was doing. So he was bringing in all this money every month by podcasting, and he was very transparent on his website, sharing how much he's making, what he's doing, how he's doing it, and everything. And so I genuinely engaged with him, listened to what he was, you know, what he was doing and his teachings and everything. And so I decided, you know what, a podcast is going to be for me, because at the time I was running Passport Apparel, and that was at Devon House. You know, when I started contemplating at Devon House, I'm like, you know what, this is not working out. Like, paying all this rent, I'm not getting the return that I want to see. I'm spending so much money and so much time. It's just not working out. So yeah, I decided, you know what, in 2016, I just decided to call it quits. So I remember traveling overseas and everything, and I came back and I handed in my letter to my landlord, Devon House, to say I'm not coming back. You know, I'm moving the store, I'm closing down the store and stuff. And I went all in by 2017 in podcasting. And I didn't just do a podcast and, you know, I could go behind the scenes and just do my thing, but I recognized the value in what podcasting did at the time, and how very little, you know, Jamaica and the Caribbean on a whole was taking advantage and leveraging this platform for marketing their business. I mean, it can be used for so many other things, but when you think about the fact that we have so many entrepreneurs, and not many people are leveraging this platform, like, you know what, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to only do it for me. I am going to be sharing all the things that I'm learning. And so I went on an evangelistic campaign. I was on radio, on TV, in the papers, talking about it. I was teaching it one-on-one, workshop, all that jazz. And fast track to 2020. Well, last year when the pandemic hit and everybody recognized, oh, maybe I should try this thing, right? So I was ahead of the game, and I made sure I was very intentional, Tamara, because I know that our history can be unkind to some of us. And so I was very intentional in being the Jamaican podcast queen and doing all that was necessary, because, you know, I wanted to show that I'm trailblazer in my own right, and I've always been a trailblazer. So yeah.
And I love that. I'm so happy to have to hear that story, and indeed a trailblazer, no doubt. And you know, one of the things I want to touch on, though, because we're going to touch some more in terms of the whole dynamics of podcasting, because one of the things we want our viewers to leave from this is even getting some snippets as to, you know, the basic steps that they should take. Mm-hmm. But in terms of your story, Heneka, because I know we see you out there as an entrepreneur doing your thing, but many may not always know like your own personal journey, your story. So tell me about you a little bit. Where did you grow up? You know, how did you transition into this kind of field? Were you always this kind of person, or were you always intentional, as you mentioned just now?
Hell no. I mean, for the earlier part of my life, I was very clueless. I have no clue. I mean, I grew up in St. Mary. Yay. What's St. Mary? You know St. Mary where we come from. Yeah. I grew up in St. Mary in Highgate, to be exact, in a district called Cromwelland, and it was you know, people talk about humble beginnings. Yeah, it was humbling for me, because, you know, grew up in a household where when rain fall, you have to set pan because water got dropping up, you know, and wet up the place and all of that. Yeah. I remember, though, when Gilbert hit, it was so interesting that when Hurricane Gilbert hit in 1988, I was 11 years old. And I knew that, you know, in retrospect, I look back and I say, you know, God has always had his hands on me, because we lived in a household, right, in a home that, may I tell you, say, it's the mercy of God why that never blow over. Nothing happened except we didn't have to set the pan, right? That's all that happened. But I saw in that time Like,
that you don't look it, because I wasn't even born when Gilbert hit. So you look super. I mean, you look really young. But
yeah, I'm 43 years old at the time of recording. Let me put it out there. I don't care. I am 43 years old.
You look good, girl.
Thank you so much. So, right. So I witnessed at 11 years old. It was amazing to me because I even wrote a piece for it in the Observer called "Memoirs of a Disaster" many years ago, where I look back and I saw all the roofs of those sturdy homes flying off, like as Loving there said, roof could take off like flying saucer, and ours stood firm. So I just share that to kind of give a picture of where I'm coming from and how even growing up, I had no self-esteem because I didn't grow up with my parents, right? I grew up with my grandparents, well, my grandfather partially and an adopted grandmother. My parents were not around, stuff like that. So I didn't grow up with them. And it was a struggle. And I didn't know when I was young that it was a struggle. But looking back, I realized that it was hard, but I got through. You know, I went to school. I wasn't I'm a late bloomer, so I wasn't one of those A students and stuff, but I was always fairly bright, right? One of those late bloomers and stuff, and growing up with all sorts of not having a sense of self, not having any self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, no self-nothing, right? I found that later. I discovered that later. But I'm here, and I think when I look back, you know, all the things that I've been through, when you look at the sexual abuse stuff that I have gone through, when you look at the fact that I almost drowned, when you look at the fact that I faced rejection, like even from, you know, your own parents, when you look at everything, you realize that, you know, all of these things are there to teach you a lesson. And I don't look at it as, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, really, because all my situations, everything that I've connected the dots, and I recognize that when you go through certain things, it can do one of two things. It can either break you, or it can propel you to move further and be determined and resolute. Like, you know, I've been through so much in my life, even in my adult life, that look here, ain't nothing you can do to break me. Ain't nothing that anybody can say that will stop my shine. Nothing, because I have been there, done that, and now wearing the t-shirt, figuratively speaking, and all of that jazz. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing and very powerful, Heneka. And I mean, it's good that you're able to share that, because so many people will not even know that about you. You opening up about that, it will also pave the way for others. So I really do appreciate you sharing that. All right, so jumping again, you know, taking this story further along. So you have interviewed on your podcast some amazing persons. And that's one of the things I like about what you do as well. You're not only just focused on Jamaica, you're focused on, you know, global as well, in terms of building your work and building your brand. And it's so interesting. I think it was last year, I had a dream about interviewing a particular international person. And for the life of me, Heneka was in the dream. And I remember I called you this morning. I was like, what the hell? Because I don't know. And it turned out she actually knew the person. I was like, this must be a sign. So yes. So you have interviewed the likes of Lisa Nichols, Les Brown. So tell us, like, for example, from all of those persons that you have featured on your podcast, what was the lead takeaway for you? And who has been like the most impactful, if you could name one?
That's a very, very hard question. And here is why. Because everybody who has come on my show, whether they're known or not, they are valued and they have the same kind, you know, they leave with me. The fact that they give of themselves, you know, the time to be on the podcast, that for me is enough, sharing their expertise and so on. So I don't, you know, put any over the other, to be honest with you. Every experience has been different, and it's not a politically correct answer, but it's a genuineness of which I approach my guests and how I see people in general. So I don't necessarily put people on pedestals, right? Mm-hmm. I treat the gardener, or, you know, the same way that I would treat somebody who is elected official, whatever. But I think I'm going to say two of which, well, oh gosh, it's so hard. So Les Brown, for example, and Seth Godin, those two, let me pick those two out. And let me tell you why. because when we were doing, Seth came on my show twice. The second time around, I did a video, so too with Les Brown. And in coming on the show, there were some technical difficulties, right? And that was a very poignant reminder for me that, listen, it doesn't matter where you are in life. All you need to do is show up, because things are going to go wrong. Don't get worried and get caught up in, oh my gosh, the video quality is not the best, or the audio quality is not the best, or, you know, what if I make a mistake? What if the audio doesn't work? What if the video doesn't work? Sometimes technology just don't work, right? And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't care about your craft. It just means that things just happen. But what do you do? How do you react to those? So those, for me, because of those, it's not even the conversation themselves. It's just what I observed. And I cannot leave without talking about John Lee Dumas, who JLD, he was the first. I mean, I'd interviewed somebody before him for the show. That interview didn't air because of some technical challenges. I was just starting out, all kind of stuff. So John Lee Dumas, JLD of Entrepreneurs on Fire, he became my very first interview, right? And for him to honor me in that way, because at the time it was just my first podcast. So I didn't have any track record of podcasting for him to say, hey, you know, she has this, how many downloads and she's doing this. No, he was humble enough to be the first, so that I could leverage him being the first to get other persons on the show as well. So each of them has brought their own value and their own power and their own awesomeness to the show, and I'm really grateful. I feel blessed and honored.
That's awesome. One of the things why Heneka is, you know, the podcast queen is not just because she has a podcast, because as we've seen, many persons have that nowadays, but you have even won awards for your podcast, have numerous downloads. So tell us about a bit in terms of the accomplishments that you've had so far with your podcasting.
All right, great. You know, it's funny when people ask about accomplishment, you know, sometimes we don't even know the things about ourselves, right? So for me, what's a major accomplishment was the fact that I got a lot of people to start podcasting in Jamaica. Some of them I've coached directly, and you know, they've attended my workshop, but some of them just because they've heard me speak about it so many times on radio, TV, wherever, and you know, features in the newspaper. So for me, the fact that I've trailblazed in Jamaica is an accomplishment, right? History will be kind to me where that is concerned. And it's also important because as we, you know, our lives are not just for us, it's about building legacy. And what would you be remembered for long after you've passed this earth? So that for me is one. You know, getting the ability to have conversations with all these persons from around the globe and stuff, that's another. Recently, I was given an award, Islandpreneur of the Year, and that the organizer is Dr. Ife Badijo out of St. Martin, and she has the power experience. That's her business. And so for me, having received that has been tremendous. You know, the ability to go to different conferences overseas. And I remember before the pandemic really hit, up to March of last year, I had gone to the US 3 times from January to March to speak all about podcasting. So, you know, in the US. So just being able to do that for me and just watch people now launch out and everybody wants to do a podcast. I'm really, really happy. For me, that's major.
Mm-hmm. And I love how you approach it because, I mean, for some people who are trailblazers, unfortunately, there are some that may have been or maybe threatened when they see like, oh my God, all these people are coming up, they're going to take up my space. So I like the fact that you look at it that you have blazed this trail and you're bringing along others as well, and that there is enough space and enough, you know, success and enough viewers and listeners to share.
For everybody, yeah. And you know what, too? I want to also give credit because I'm not the first podcaster in Jamaica, right? I know perhaps about 5 or so, 2 of which I know before, who started before me. So I don't remember her podcast, but I definitely, Yannick Grant, the customer service experience. Mm-hmm. it's customer service experience. I don't remember what it's called, but I think that's it. Yannick Grant has been doing that amazing work before me. But the thing is, where I took it a step further is like, because by that time, everybody, when you talk about a podcast, we were like, what's a podcast? No, the question is, what's your podcast? Yeah. So, I give credit to her. She started, but I also took it a step further by educating people about this amazing medium and how we can leverage it for business growth.
Definitely. And we appreciate that you mentioned that. All right, Heneka, so moving right along now in terms of your personal journey, because you mentioned you overcoming, certain difficulties, but at the same time being strong as a woman and making a name for yourself. And we want to touch quickly on where you mentioned earlier that last year was a tough year for you health-wise. And tell us about that and how were you able to deal with that and overcome?
Oh Lord. Last year, like I keep saying that it made the challenge that I faced made the pandemic look like a walk in the park. Like seriously, while everybody was contemplating and trying to figure out how to navigate this thing, I was contemplating, how do I stay alive? I didn't know I would be alive, to be honest with you, because I was burnout, and this is why I'm now big on self-care a lot, because we as entrepreneurs, we hear hustle, grind. You just need to keep going and accomplish this, accomplish that. Nobody tells you, okay, you have to live your life in harmony. There's a space and time for everything. So I remember in January, first of all, I had a near-death experience. It was very traumatic. I overdosed on a combination of sleeping pills, plus there was some marijuana tea in my system, and I didn't know that there. So that was something else, right? Full transparency. I have nothing to hide. And that was traumatic, but I kept going. So I remember I tell you that I actually went to the US to speak. I finished this book, which is Podcast for another podcasting accomplishment.
Awesome.
Finished this book, thank you, that I could actually go to the US and share, and it could be in one of those bookstores, and it was a major event, right? A very, very big event. So I did that and I kept going. I came back by April. All right, I'm slowing down now because I realized I was going too fast. I'm kind of slowing down. I'm hosting LeaderCast events in Jamaica, which again, podcasting opened the door for that. And that event is major, right? So hosting these things was preparing for another staging, but then slowing down a bit, trying to rest. And I remember by April 1, it was 8 p.m. I'm in the middle of a live interview on YouTube and I'm passing out. I had to eventually go to the hospital because I just thought, okay, I just needed rest. And when rest wasn't doing it, it's like I was having like a panic attack. I couldn't understand what was happening. The long and short of the story is that I went through a period of depression that was so dark. All sorts of physical ailments, like no energy at all. I could do no work. I kid you not, like just no energy, no appetite, could not eat. Like it would take me an hour just to eat one small thing, like absolutely no appetite. So all of these things happen. And having been to so many doctors, like at the end of it, it was like about 10, 11 doctors, including a psychiatrist, because we're not big in Jamaica on mental health, but by any means necessary, whatever it took, I had to get better, because even though I felt like I was dying, and if I didn't take care of myself, I know I would not have been here. And so it was important for me to push through. I fought for my life. And by the time I got to my 11th doctor, which was a naturopath, she had put me on, a natural lifestyle, changed that vegan diet, all sorts of stuff, right? And I started getting a little better. I was diagnosed eventually with adrenal fatigue. Now, what adrenal fatigue is just something that nobody can really put a finger on, because all the symptoms are so similar to other things. But it's just you burn out, you're just tired, and your body cannot go any further. Like you're just crash. Like that's what happened. And so even now I'm still recovering. I'm still in that period of recovery, and I take it very easy. I'm big on resting. I'm big on, honoring my commitments, but at the same time, don't have a packed schedule like I used to. I used to run my days like, there is no tomorrow. So I have to get everything done today. Like I didn't know what it meant to rest. I didn't know what it meant to take a break. The anxiety was so bad. Like I would take up the computer and my body would have a nervous reaction just by me touching the computer.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was, I cannot explain what I went through, but I was determined. I was so determined to stay alive and fought and did what was necessary for me to thrive and to make it through.
Definitely. And we appreciate your authenticity and just sharing that and being open and honest. Wow. I mean, that is amazing. And we wish you all the continued best in terms of your recovery, because you are a fighter and you will make it. So just continue. We're here. The Trailblazer community is here to support you in any way. So we appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. I just want to say, it's so important for me to share, because we have a thing where we want to, keep things to ourselves and stuff. But I firmly believe that my story is not for me. I firmly believe that, what I've been through, to each much is given, much is expected. And I really believe that I've been given certain experiences so that I can share, so that others cannot fall into the same trap. So all you entrepreneurs out there who are just going. And yes, I know you have those targets. Yes, I understand the importance of, being focused and dedicated and all of that. I'm all those things. But it is also important for you to, take a step back and rest. Because without being in tip-top shape, you can't serve nobody well.
Yeah, that is true. You can't pour from your cup.
It is empty. Exactly. Right.
Empty. That's amazing. And I really do appreciate that. Okay. So, in those moments though of overcoming, because so many people can identify with that, having those moments of, feeling down or really, as you mentioned, completely burnt out. You mentioned that you kept wanting to remain alive. What do you think? Or, was that source or that inspiration behind you realizing that, boy, I can't give up?
Well, I've always known, I have a bigger purpose. I've always seen for a long time, my mission, my why is life transformation through inspiration. People are living vicariously through my eyes. I really believe that I have a responsibility. And the fact that I didn't feel like my purpose was complete. I didn't feel like my mission was complete, right? And I always say that purpose cannot die prematurely. Yeah. And so with that, I fought. And I remember God, when I asked questions, because it was a lot of journeying, through and thankfully I have God to anchor in which I'm anchored, because if I didn't have that as my source, I just don't know what I would do. And so I would look for divine inspiration. And I remember one day I'm in this office here, I have a little couch here, and I was laying on the couch and I just got up and I said, you know what, I want something to read. And I took up a version of the Daily Bread, which was from 2008. And the very first day, it would have been January 1, the very first day that I read, it says, the title, Slow Down and Live. I'm like, yes, God.
Wow.
Got it. And so when I read, what it says, is it was like God speaking to me in a very clear and concise way. And from that, so that was I read that in June. This thing started in April last year. And by about October, I started planning an event because, like I said, my story is more than just for me. I began planning this event called Slow Down and Live, Health is Wealth. And so I did that in January, focusing on adrenal fatigue, mental health issues, just all these things that people are not talking about, what it means to have be on a whole food, plant-based diet kind of a thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And how has that been going for you in terms of the whole food plant-based diet?
Well, so I started out eliminating meat completely, or it's byproducts. So I didn't have eggs, I didn't have dairy or anything like that. I started out and I did that for a couple months, almost a year. But I'm now back on things like fish. I like the meat thing, I'm totally off. But fish, I'm now having fish again. Mm-hmm. And from time to time, I'll have cheese or eggs or stuff, but it's not something that I really, dwell on. I keep as much as possible the plant-based diet thing, which works. And I only have, meals twice per day. So I do intermittent fasting, only eat twice per day. And that has been tremendous. People are like, how you do that? Once you start, you don't want to go back and mess up your system. You just want to maintain that.
That is true. I know that because I do that sometimes, but I'm a big fan of juicing as well.
Yeah.
So actually one of our sponsors, guys, we're giving away the winners today. So we have a prize giving away. So one of our partners, DG's Health and Wellness, they're big on juicing. So that's something that
I want to meet them.
Yeah, so that's what I do a lot, because it helps to not only clear up your skin, but if you want to lose weight quick, that's an easy way to go. But I know it was more than just weight loss for you. But you're looking good.
Thank you, thank you. I want back some of the weight though. I tell you that. I want back some. So I'm going to start eating a lot more.
So we are winding down, but we can't wrap things up until we get from you, because of course you're the podcast queen, and you showed us just now your book, Podcast Power, and I'm sure it's available on Amazon, right?
Yes, and also I must big up to my new distributors, who are the UE Press. So the University of the West Indies Press, they are now distributing Podcast Power. Power to me, yay.
Awesome. So I'm going to encourage all my trailblazers to get the book, but in the meantime, can you share with us 3 key essentials that you need, basic key essentials that you need to get going if you're interested, anyone is interested in having their own podcast?
All right, so what I might start with may surprise you, because it perhaps may have nothing to do with podcasting, but it has everything to do with anything that you want to do in life, is to understand why you want to do it. That's so critical. Okay, not because Heneka has a podcast, not because that person has one, not because JLD has one, but why do you want to do it, And secondly, are you committed enough to do it? Are you going to carve the time out to do it? Because pod fade is real. It's not as much as it's easy to start, it is so easy to stop. Pod fade is you're 5 episodes in, and by then you're like, why did I start it? Why am I doing this? So it's very important to understand why. And the times are going to get tough when you start. You're going to feel down the road like, I don't want to do this. And so it's important to always connect it back to your why. And so those 2 things. And thirdly, I want to say, just start. And by just starting, it could mean doing the research online, which is out there. It could mean giving me a call. It could just simply mean, okay, you have a phone, you have whatever it is, the software on your phone, you have a computer, you can start recording. If there's anything you are interested in, any topic, you could ask yourself, what am I going to podcast about? Well, do you have interest in sports? Do you have interest in gardening? Do you like to talk about cars? Do you like to talk about business? What do you want to talk about? What could people wake up in the middle of the night and you could share on? Those are the things that you can consider. There are comedy podcasts, if you like to talk crap and you want to make people laugh, there's that. If you want to have people really get serious and contemplate, if you want to go spiritual and go in there's a podcast for everything. So just start.
And indeed, you get a copy of Heneka's book so you can get some more insights. Plus you can also visit her website, right?
Yes, henekawatkis-Porter.com, and it's Podcast Power, the quick start guide to launching and leveling up your brand.
Awesome. All right, Heneka, thank you so much. What lasting rules for success would you want to share with our trailblazers who are looking on, are inspired, and they want to do well and be as successful in their endeavors, whether it's in podcasting or anything else that they're in?
So the first thing is, thank you very much for that question, Tamara. The first thing is define success for yourself. So, and I know that's a cliche answer, but you've got to define it for yourself. What does it mean to you? What does success look like? It may not look like money in the bank. It may simply look like, I can feed my family. I can get up every day and I can do what I love. That could be success for you. So define it. And another thing is, the second thing I want to make sure that we understand, and traditional marketing books, and when they talk about you do courses online and stuff about marketing, they probably tell you to look at the competition. I will tell you otherwise. I'll tell you not to look on the competition. Like, I get so boxed in what I'm doing that I see and I recognize people doing awesomeness. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I see that and I acknowledge people, but I don't ever get into the point of, okay, all right, Tamara is doing that. Maybe I should do it too. No, because then you begin to look like the quote unquote competition. I'm so in a box when it comes on to doing my own thing. Like, I really don't care what somebody else is doing. I care not what somebody else is doing, because I want to get good and better each time at what it is that I have decided to do. And that is why it's important for me to define success for myself so that I don't look on Tamara. And that's where envy comes in and jealousy, and we say that Jamaica bad mind, because we're watching everybody else unfold on Twitter and Instagram and wherever. And we're not even taking care to water our own lawn so that they can grow. Stay in your lane. There's less traffic there, I like to say. Nobody not running at each other when you stay in your lane. Just stay there, focus, right? Follow one course until succeed.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. And I mean, I definitely agree. My mom, I'm giving a shout out to my mom in this place. She actually does say some of those same things as well. She'll be like, run your race. She'll be like, run your race, and it sums it up based on everything that you just said. I certainly appreciate this, Heneka. You are indeed a trailblazer. You have accomplished so much, and I know there is so much more in store, not only in Jamaica, but globally. So keep up the fantastic work, not only in terms of your career, but also in your health and your wholeness and harmonious living.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And thank you so much to all you trailblazers out there. Trust me, blaze your own trail, do your thing. I love you and I'm cheering for you.
Thank you, Heneka.
And the lucky winner of last week's giveaway of a $30,000 valued 6 weeks weight loss consultation from DG's Health and Wellness Center is Yashika Henry. Congratulations.